Have you ever been lying in bed, heart racing, mind spiraling, and wondered, why does this feel so intense? And why can't I shut it off? Stay with me, because by the end of this story, you'll understand why OCD and generalized anxiety feel almost identical at first, and why knowing the difference can quietly change how you treat yourself forever. Start softly. Familiar scene. It's late evening. The house is finally quiet. The kind of quiet that should feel peaceful, but instead it feels loud inside your head. You replay conversations. You worry about tomorrow. You check your phone, then check it again. You tell yourself, relax. Nothing is wrong. But your body doesn't listen. Your chest is tight. Your thoughts won't slow down. And somewhere between the worrying and the checking, a question forms. Is this anxiety? Or is something else happening to me? Here's what you'll gain by staying with this story. You'll learn how OCD and generalized anxiety overlap, where they split apart, and, most importantly, how your brain is trying to protect you even when it feels like it's attacking you. You'll gain language for what you're experiencing, compassion for your own patterns, and clarity that replaces fear with understanding. This isn't about labels for the sake of labels. It's about self-awareness that gives you back a sense of control. At the center of this story is a conflict many people never realize they're living inside. Two conditions that share the same emotional cost: worry, tension, mental noise, but are driven by different engines underneath. And when you don't know which engine is running, you keep using the wrong brakes. Imagine the brain as a smoke detector. Its job is to warn you when something might be wrong. In generalized anxiety, that detector is overly sensitive to life itself. Work, money, health, relationships, the future, the alarm goes off easily and stays on. In OCD, the detector is also sensitive, but it locks onto very specific themes: contamination, harm, morality, order, responsibility. And once it latches on, it doesn't just warn you, it demands certainty. This is where the confusion begins. Generalized anxiety whispers, what if things go badly? What if I can't cope? OCD shouts, what if this thought means something about who you are? What if you don't act and something terrible happens because of you? First, they felt the same tension in your body, the same racing mind, the same urge to fix the feeling. But the psychology underneath is different. Generalized anxiety is driven by chronic worry, a mental habit of scanning the future for potential threats. The brain stays in planning mode, trying to prevent pain by thinking ahead. It believes that if I worry enough, I'll be prepared. The relief comes briefly when reassurance appears, when a problem is solved or temporarily avoided. OCD, on the other hand, is driven by intrusive thoughts and compulsions. The thoughts are unwanted, distressing, and often completely against your values. And here's the key. The anxiety doesn't come from the thought itself. It comes from the meaning your brain assigns to having the thought. OCD tells you that if you think this, it must matter. If it matters, you must neutralize it. So you check, you repeat, you avoid it, you mentally review, you seek reassurance. Not because you like it, but because for a moment the anxiety drops. And your brain learns something dangerous. That worked. Do it again. This is the part most people don't hear. And it's the most important insight in this entire story. Both OCD and generalized anxiety are fueled by the same brain system, the threat detection network. The amygdala raises the alarm. The prefrontal cortex tries to reason it away. But in OCD, the loop becomes tighter, more ritualized, more rigid. And here's the dramatic moment, the realization that changes everything. The problem isn't that you're worrying too much. The problem isn't that you're broken. The problem is that your brain is mistaking uncertainty for danger. OCD demands certainty, absolute certainty, moral certainty, safety certainty. And because certainty is impossible, the brain stays stuck. Generalized anxiety also hates uncertainty, but it spreads the fear across many areas. OCD pins it to one or a few themes and refuses to let go. This is why reassurance feels addictive in OCD. Why just checking one more time never satisfies. Why doesn't logic work the way you expect it to? You're not dealing with a thinking problem. You're dealing with a learning problem. The brain has learned that anxiety goes down when you perform a compulsion, so it keeps sending the signal. And here's where compassion comes in. If you've ever thought, why can't I stop this? Why does my mind do this to me? Understand this. Your brain is trying to protect you from perceived danger using outdated rules. It's not a weakness. It's not a lack of insight. It's a survival system stuck in overdrive. The emotional insight here is subtle but powerful. People with generalized anxiety often feel overwhelmed by life. People with OCD often feel afraid of themselves, of their thoughts, their responsibility, their potential to cause harm. That fear can be deeply isolating, can make you silent, shamed, confused. But thoughts are not actions. Thoughts are not intentions. Thoughts are not prophecies. The brain generates thousands of mental events every day. OCD simply flags certain ones as urgent and meaningful when they are not. Healing begins when you stop trying to eliminate uncertainty and start teaching your brain that uncertainty is survivable. This is why treatment approaches differ. Generalized anxiety responds well to cognitive restructuring, stress reduction, and lifestyle regulation. OCD requires exposure and response prevention, learning slowly and safely to feel the anxiety without performing the compulsion until the brain updates its prediction. And even if you're not seeking treatment right now, this awareness alone can soften your inner struggle. You can begin to notice, am I worrying to prepare? Or am I trying to neutralize a feeling? That question changes how you respond. As this story comes to a close, let me leave you with this grounding truth. If you're stuck between OCD and anxiety, questioning which one fits, that doesn't mean you're failing at self-understanding. It means you're paying attention. And paying attention is the first act of healing. Your mind isn't your enemy. It's a system that learned something incorrectly, and learning can be updated. If this story gives you clarity, comfort, or language for something you've struggled to explain, stay with this channel. We explore the mind with science, empathy, and respect for how hard it is to be human. Save this video, share it with someone who feels confused by their thoughts, and keep coming back. Because understanding your brain is one of the most powerful forms of self-care you can practice.